Yes. So good morning once again, viewers. This is the Erasmus Asia project, and we have with us right now, Paulina, one of our lecturers. So first of all, we will have to say a little about Erasmus project. So the Erasmus Asia project, of which the Asia stands for the Enhancing Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Sustainability in Higher Education in Africa. This project started in 2017, funded by the European Union, with the project head being Mona Lisa Dams, who is also a lecturer in AAU, yeah, but in a few times, like she'll be leaving. So this whole project aims at redesigning the curriculum of some chosen universities, of which KNUST found itself to be fortunate to be part. And this whole thing is about learning how PBL is being done and inculcating it into a particular program. So in KNUST's case, they chose BSc Aquaculture and Water Resource Management. So today we have it as a lecturer who kind of give us his experience about this whole PBL system. So first of all, yes. Paulina, can you give us an introduction of yourself so that we move on?
Yes, thank you, Prince and Lawrencia, for having this chance to share with you my experiences with the PBL model. Yes, I'm Paulina. I'm originally from Colombia, but I have been in Denmark since 2002. And I came to study my master's education. My bachelor, I'm educated originally as a production engineer, and my master's is on environmental technology. And after I continue with a PhD on environmental policy. So I have been going to a bit of jump of interdisciplinary. And I must say that I mostly work in this now interface, like science policy. Yeah, so that's what I would have to say. And management of natural resources. As to the PBL, my first contact that I had was in 2002 when I came to Aalborg University to do my master. And before that, I followed the traditional education where it was me sitting in the classroom and the lecturer just standing in front and just giving the lecture or giving the knowledge. So I have been working with PBL since 2002 as a student, but I would say implementing it or from the other side, it would be after I finished my PhD, and that was in 2014. So I have been working more or less 6 years with PBL on the other side, more as a supervisor, what we call more like a facilitator, and also through the coursework. So this is a bit of introduction of me, my background, and how I came into this PBL model.
Okay, thank you for the response. So since you became a lecturer in Aalborg University, how was your first experience with the PBL?
I would say as I was mentioning, I have two ways that I interact with PBL, and one is through courses and the other one is as supervisor or facilitator. And I would say the most tangible way that I have worked with PBL would be through supervision. And supervision at the same time, I could say as a co-supervisor in first semester students, getting them used to helping them get used to this model of how is it to work in groups, solving conflicts, all the sharing of knowledge, that is them who own the project. So that's one kind of logistically helping them adapt to this. And at the same time, a supervisor is as I say, more like a facilitator, because throughout this PBL model, students are the owners of the project. They decide themselves. So my task is more facilitate, guide them in that. So that's supervision. And then through classes or courses, I would say something through the exercises we might have during the lecture.
Okay, thank you. And also I would like to ask, so in your own experience, how would you describe this whole PBL model as you've learned along?
Yes, and that's it. It's kind of like this PBL in like 1 minute, so it's kind of like short, but like keywords that come to my head to try to describe what PBL is, and is, well, students having ownership of the project, students working in groups, learning to cooperate, to take decisions as a group, to share the knowledge, very important to solve conflicts, to learn to give each other constructive criticism. So that's kind of like logistically, but also the methods of learning, because with PBL, as I understand, it's not so much that the lecturers or the supervisors give the information, but we act more like as facilitators, how the students would learn how to get that knowledge. Because you know that nowadays, knowledge you can just access very easy through internet.
Yeah.
But it's like what information on the internet is reliable, and also which methods you have that is not only literature review, it's also like through interviews or to focus groups. So all these different methods to acquire the knowledge. Other keywords that come to my head to define this PBL, I would say like interdisciplinary, learning to work across disciplines, but most important, of course, that working with a problem, and it's a problem that is something, a problem for society. So it's a real case problem, but it also could be like an improvement of a current situation. And then it's the students who define what is the problem, and they start to define it. And that's quite challenging, defining a paragraph, what is the problem to address, analyze it, and try to offer a solution. That is the expected, there's an expected outcome. And at the same time that all this process is hopefully done with the problem owner. So it's not so much like a desk study, but they go out and they talk to those, who have the problem. I think, that kind of like summarize what PBL is in my head.
Yeah. And thank you again. And also, our next question will be talking about this whole idea of how you've been using this PBL to teach, and like this whole thing about guiding students to do the right thing. Do you see the PBL as helping you to achieve like your teaching of like your course objectives?
I think so. And also, I would say more like from personal experience is this kind of like opening, because I remember when I start work, when I finished my bachelor's, kind of like I have all this knowledge in my head, but it was there, and so what? So having that connection to reality, like context, that came through the PBL. So when I'm thinking with the students, I think throughout PBL, they would also get this enlightenment, like, there's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and so what? And I think that's the hope, to get these two things connected, between information on how to address a problem and the problem. But at the same time with PBL, we also work with learning goals. So every semester, each course has its own learning course objectives, a set of skill, competencies, and knowledge. And then one thing that we supervisors or facilitators need to do is to make sure that the group follow those, and that they are kind of like fine-tuned to that specific topic. And during the evaluation, we evaluate if these learning goals have been complied. And we do this, do this oral examination that you went through. So you already know how it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And okay, so throughout this whole PBL model of teaching, have you ever encountered some problems, like maybe in the case of new students coming in, like adapting so fast to like those who are already used to this PBL? Like, has there been some kind of a challenge?
Yeah. Yeah, and I could refer also from my own experience that at the beginning it was weird coming from a situation where I was being used to being my supervisor, my teachers telling me what to do, but now suddenly it's like we as a group have to decide. And sometimes, and I would see this also in the students when kind of like they decide first what the problem and what is the knowledge or what is the information they need to get. And sometimes they realize later, oops, that's not the knowledge, that's not the information we needed. And they say, why didn't you tell us about that? And this is part of like, well, need to learn from own experience. But so a new person coming to Aalborg University, like maybe you guys experience some challenges, I guess that would be one of the first ones, like identifying there's a difference. And I can imagine that you went through this PBL introduction where it was informed. But I would say challenges also maybe having students who are used to working with the model, working with people that have not working. So having this mixed, so that's kind of like one of the challenges or yeah. Another thing may be professors who are not used to the system, but I also understand that they get some training when they come to Aalborg University to learn to work with the model. Yeah, I think that's what it comes to my head right now, but maybe throughout our conversation, I will think of something else.
Yeah. All right, so my next question would be, you think this whole PBL has been like successfully implemented in terms of improving the quality of students? Like, because we can all confirm that Aalborg University is one of the best universities in the world. So do you think PBL has been like a secret, something like a secret weapon in making sure that the students are of good quality?
I think that's a question that I would like you to ask to your colleagues if you get the chance to talk to them, because I think as they finish the education and they go into what I call the real life, the market, the labor market, and they get jobs at companies, I guess it would also be interesting to hear from them how has it been, that transition. But to my knowledge, what I know is that in this, like in Denmark, companies say that they like working with students who have been through the PBL model, because it's the students that of course have the knowledge, but they also have the abilities to work as a group and to address problems, and that conflicts between the peers, and also address a problem. So it's on these abilities to tackle a situation. That's one of the criteria that could be used as successful. And the other, well, success could be assessed by the way that the learning goals are being achieved. Yeah.
Okay. So Paulina, would you advise other universities to adapt the PBL model, because you've been with it as a student and also now as a lecturer? What would you say? Would you recommend it to other universities to actually start using it as their main teaching and learning method?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on how the university see itself. What is the mission? What is the vision of the university? Where you have a university like Aalborg University that has this commitment of producing kind of like students to help address problems of society. So you need to have kind of like an applied education, kind of people who are educated to solve problems. But at the same time, there are other universities that have other vision, like more like, enhancing the theoretical world. And I must say, I don't know, I don't have experience with those type of universities, so I don't know. But I would say, like, if this other first model is the decision from the top leaders of the university to go, then PBL model will be the way to go. But at the same time, I have to say that in my view, for it to happen, it cannot be like a revolutionary thing where everything has to change. But I think it will need to be like little by little, like start with maybe one course, and slowly grow, and expand and learn from the experience, because each university has its own contextualities, and it's only the person who have been working there, who identified, and that will know how to address those things. And I say also that very important is that there's commitment from top management. So top levels, they need to say, okay, we are going into this. So there is the kind of like the order, because at the same time, there are some people who might not be so happy to have this change, who are more happy to have the traditional way of teaching, and you have this like resistance to change, which I understand maybe is more, it happens more like in the older generation. So this opening to new ideas, to alternative ways, maybe from newer generations, and take advantage of people who are like, eager to try it and yeah, to experiment and to see how could it work. I think this is what I would have to say to that question.
Okay, thank you so much. And do you have any other interesting comments you'd like to make, or any maybe further advice, like for our department as the main pioneer of the PBL model in KNUST? Do you have any further things to say? Or
I don't know. I think like if I were in their shoes, for instance, if I was in the process of helping this, I would be very interested to hear on what went wrong in some cases. I think it's very easy to find cases of success. And what is documented in literature, maybe it is, oh, we did this and that and it worked. But I must admit, I haven't explored if there's some literature documented what went wrong. But it's good to learn from those cases. Yeah, why it didn't work out, because those things might help save you those steps if you're planning to go there.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I would like to ask this question. This whole project asks of us to return back to our home institution and try to help implement this PBL. So as a lecturer, and like, I think when we are going back, we are going to serve as like a teaching assistant. So like in the way we're supposed to teach. So as a lecturer, what are your words that maybe you could just give to us like as a point of departure to help us teach this whole PBL, like, from your own personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, based on how it has been done here, for instance, if whenever they say, okay, Paulina, you now need to give this lecture, I think the first thing is identify, okay, what are these learning objectives? So I don't know if, for instance, back at home, there is this set of learning objectives that you have for the courses.
Yeah.
And with that, then you can identify maybe different reading material that gives different points of view. It's kind of like, okay, this concept has been understood like this, or it has been understood like that. Some think that this is good, some think that this is bad. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but so that there's the option for the students to get to see the different perspectives. And also explain maybe, okay, there are different theories about this, there are different methods. So give them like an option, like a palette of options, things that they could apply. And of course, if you are working on an exercise, then okay, work by groups, and you group select one problem, and then how would you solve that problem? And here we just talked about these different views, these different theories, these different methods. Which one would you apply and why? And also another thing that I think is interesting is this fact of students presenting to each other, like this peer review process. And then you just sit and observe and facilitate, because it also helps them to develop this constructive criticism or bringing interesting questions. But I know that if it's a group of students who have been used to working the previous method, they just sit there and quiet, to get them to talk, that's going to be challenged. So maybe a way to break the ice, just like very simple question, just to get them talking. I don't know, just some things that come to my head right now.
All right. So thank you very much for your feedback, and I think it's really going to help us implement this whole thing.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, I wish you good luck with this process. I think it's very interesting, and I see you as like this part of the future generation, trying to go and learning by mistake and trial and error. So all the best with that, and you know that you can contact me, and I'm always happy to have informal chats and and brainstorm potential ideas.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Good luck then.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye.